Hey, this is Brian. Thanks for watching Keys. In today's video, I'm going to walk you through the process of installing APR's carbon fiber intake on a 992 Carrera. Now, as you can tell by my car behind me, we are starting with the bumper and also the wing assembly totally removed from the vehicle. If you're not sure how to do that, check the link down in the description. We have a video that walks you through every single nut and bolt and how to get your car looking just like this. Also, down in the description, you're going to find videos where we install this intake in a much larger, higher production video on our main channel. So we encourage you to check that out as well. Now, to give you a high-level overview of what we're going to be doing, first we're going to be upgrading the inlet with this one from APR. This has significantly greater flow, which is going to give you a little bit more power. It's going to replace the factory plastic one from Porsche. And then the inlet, as you can see, goes up and it connects to a plastic portion of the airbox. We're going to be upgrading that to carbon fiber. So with that, let's get started. We're going to start by removing these two ducts. There's a duct up here and then there's also a lower one. The way that these remove, you basically pull it away from the car and then remove it from the back, just like this. Next, what we're going to do is we are going to remove the intercooler piping from the intercooler. All you need to do with this hose clamp over here, just loosen that up, and this is going to pop right off. Next, you can take a 7mm and release the hose clamp that holds the intercooler piping onto the turbo. And you can pop this tube off as well. Now, while you have that 7mm out, you're going to release the hose clamp on the top of the inlet. Then you're going to use an E10 E-Torx on this bolt on this little V-band clamp over here. And this is going to get completely removed. Okay, it looks just like that. And what you can do, pop off this clamp the rest of the way and just slide the inlet totally off. Next, we're going to remove our O2 sensor just to make sure we're not going to have an issue. So this is going to slide out just like that. Then there's going to be a little red tab. You pull the tab up, you press down on the tab, and then you can disconnect it just like that. Now, these are fastened by little connection points over here, here, and also up here. So you're going to need to take a trim tool and release those clips. You can let that hang just like that. Next, what we need to do is we need to remove a hose. It's located over here. Now, for this style of connection, I have tried needle nose pliers, I have tried vice grips, I have tried a variety of different tools. None of them, in my experience, have worked as good as these Knipex. With these, what you can do, you can press this. I don't want to touch it because I have it preset, and then it slides in and it locks it. What's going to happen is we have these nice little hooks, we'll call them, that basically sit around the bottom part here. I'll just start to show you. So that sits in the groove like that, and then that sits nicely there. Then what you can do is you just very carefully click it into place, and that's really it. It is by far the best tool for this job that I have ever used. And then what you can do, you can start to just wiggle it over a little bit more, press it in, release it, and then now we're going to be able to remove that with ease. If you've watched any of our older videos where I've done a project like this, you'll notice me fussing around with needle nose or vice grips. 1000% worth the money. There's the part number there. We'll link it down below for you though. Now, these do get pretty stuck on here. So what I recommend is just getting some kind of pick tool and loosen it up pretty good, and then you'll be able to pop it off. There we go. At this time, we are ready to start to remove the cage. Now, whenever I do this project, I always like to mark everything so I know exactly where I left it, especially when you're realigning your bumper and putting everything back on. What I like to do up here, I like to layer a few layers of painter's tape, and then I will actually mark out the ends of these clamps over here, these little plastic tabs. This way, when I put it back, I know exactly where it was, because if you just remove this and you go to reinstall it, you can actually shift it around. And sometimes what'll happen is these tabs won't engage in the bumper and the bumper won't stay clipped in. But if you mark it out, you should have no problem at all. Next, we have 3 T25s that we need to remove. Now, depending on the production of your car or whatnot, you might have it as a T30. There's one right here where I have my tool set up. Then there's another one over here, and there's one more back here. Then back here, you can either use a 10mm or a T30. You're going to remove this bolt here. Looks just like that. Then don't forget this T25 located back here. Okay. Next, we're going to disconnect our rear sensor over here. I will say I do have the battery disconnected. I highly recommend before you do anything with this that you do have the battery disconnected and do not power on the car for any reason. Long story short, I had a situation where guy PPF'd the car for me, took the mirrors off, started the car, and it cost me a couple $100 to go back to Porsche to have everything recalibrated. So don't mess with it. Start with your battery disconnected. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna go up here, pop this off, just like that. Then there's a red tab over here. You're going to pull the tab out like we've been doing, just like that. Then press the tab in, and you'll be able to release the connection, just like that. Next, we're going to remove the T30 up here, and the other one over here. And then we're going to pull this little bracket off. And that'll slide off just like that. Last, there's just a handful of 10 millimeters, and then we can pull the entire cage off. Then you can remove the cage. Now what we're going to do is remove the factory air filter. To do that, there's a T25 screw here and over here that both need to be removed. So at this time, you can remove these. So you can slide this out and set it to the side. Next, let's remove these silver clips. The way that these work, you take a flathead screwdriver or something like a pick tool. I'll show you once it's off the car here. Basically what I do is I get it in there, I leverage it up, and then you slide it out this little hole. So same thing, leverage it up and just slide it down, just like that. Then we have one more up here. Then once you've done that, you can push that little tab through, do the same thing in the middle, just like that, and then pop this last one through, and the cage is released. All right, starting with the intercooler piping, we're going to remove the T25s down here. So there's one there, and then one here. Now, just to make sure that I'm going to have everything in the correct orientation, I am going to take a marker and just mark the current position. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we are going to release all of these T25 screws along the entire perimeter of the airbox. Then once you've done that, you can separate the two units. Now when you're looking at the intakes, the side that's smooth under the APR logo, this is going to be your driver's side if you're in the US and it's left-hand drive. And then over here, the one that has the extra connection, this is going to go on your passenger side. So now that we have the correct airbox, you're going to take these CNC pieces. You're going to see that one is a little bit bigger than the other. You're going to take the short one, and this one is going to go closest to the corner. It's just going to slide in just like that. Then the long one is going to go down just like that. Now you can take your charge pipe, and you can put it up here. Then take the other portion of your factory airbox, slide this on top of here, just like that. Then you can take the long provided bolts. These are going to go through here into the CNC portion. Do not reuse your OEM ones or you will strip out the metal. Now what you can do is grab all of these short T25s, and these are going to get threaded in all along the perimeter. Now before you tighten everything up, make sure that you line up your lines that we marked earlier. You can snug these up. Now, while they do recommend torquing the smaller bolts to 2 Newton meters and the longer to 1, in all reality, most torque wrenches don't even go that low. So we recommend just going snug on all the bolts and you should be more than fine. All right, we're almost ready to reinstall it on the car. We have to install the silicone hose. Now, what we found is the one that ends in 57 is going to be the left side or the driver's side. You're going to take this part here, but before you put it on, this connection right there, you want to take this clamp and you want to spread it. Again, these things are a total lifesaver. I'll slide this on. We'll install that like that. Maneuver everything into place. Set it up just like that. So now what you're going to do, if these little grommets got stuck, you're gonna pop them off. 2 out of 3 of mine got stuck. And then we're going to reinstall it into the cage. To reinstall, from behind, just put the little part through. And then just make sure that everything is seated properly. And then my other one was up here. All right, so first up, I'm going to take this side, push that through. And you can navigate the other 2 in place. Start to pop these pins through. Okay, then take the washer that you removed earlier, put it on, and then you're going to slide it on through this section right there until you hear it clip. Next, we're going to take our coupler and we're going to slide this on here with a hose clamp. Now, when you're tightening the hose clamp, I always like to be mindful that it's going in a spot that if I ever need to get to it, that it's going to be pretty easy access. Then we can snug this up. Then the last thing we're going to do, there's another coupler right over here. So I'm going to use my tool to get our clamp ready. You just take this, slide it all the way in, then you can position your clamp, and we're good to go. So now at this time, we are ready to install the cage with the mounted intake on the car. Then once it's on the car, that's when we'll actually install the filter. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to feed these wires through here and get everything situated again. So what I like to do at this point is just take one of the 10 mils, just lightly thread one on over here, and one on over here. You could do this one if you want to as well. I want to make sure that I still have a little bit of play as I get my intercooler piping situated again. So let's lower the car just a hair. We'll get this situated and then we can tighten everything down. All right, so I'm going to start by reinstalling my intercooler piping, and then we're going to do the smaller line up top. All right, so then you can feed this hose onto the coupler. Okay, just like that. Then using my favorite tool, you can put your clamp back on. Okay, now you can take your sensor back here, plug it back in, make sure you hear a good click, and then press in the red tab. We're gonna pop that through like that. All right, so then we'll put all these 10 mils back. So we have the 5 nuts, and then there's a 1 bolt, and this one goes back here. Now you're going to go over all of those 10 mils and you're going to torque them down to 10 Newton meters. So now what we're going to do, we're going to put some of those T25s in. I like to start with the hidden ones. There's one up here and then one by the turbo that are a little bit hard to see. And the other one's right here. Then there's the 2 underneath. And we're gonna install our intercooler piping back onto the turbo. And you can tighten it up with a 7 mil. Now you can reinstall your O2 sensor wire. Just clip it in there, clip it in there. This one gets clipped down here. Just plug it in, snap that down, and then it sits in this nice groove. So now you're gonna take your inlet, make sure that you put a hose clamp on first, and you can start to navigate that in. Then navigate it here. If you have any trouble with this, You can use a little clear silicone and that'll help everything to go on. But now that we have that in, we could take our factory clamp again and you can reinstall the bolt. And this gets torqued down to 5.5 Newton meters. Then once you have this situated up top, you can tighten this hose clamp down. Next, we're going to take the upgraded filter. We're going to install it into the filter tray. And then you're just going to take it, make sure you slide it in all the way. You should see these little tabs pop through. Then you can reinstall the T25 screws. All right, then you can reinstall your bracket here. Again, make sure that you have everything lined up where it was before. Another thing that I like to do is if you look really close, you'll see that there's an indent from the old screw. So this way I can try to line that up because unfortunately the hole is actually never in the dead center. Then you can snug these up. Okay, so then we have this stuck to install. I typically like to install it on the middle portion first. Then you can navigate that in. Okay, just like that. And then we could take this part, slide this in, and that'll slide like that. All right, so at this point, everything on the driver's side is 100% complete. We just need to duplicate that process on the passenger side. Now, we are going to do this off camera, but there are just two very subtle differences. First, if you look at the passenger side inlet, there's an extra connection over here, which is going to be right here. All you need to do for this is take either side and squeeze where there's ridges, and then you can work this off, okay? Just like that. Don't be alarmed if anything drips out. It's kind of gross, but it's your PCV system, so it's normal to have a little oil in there. But essentially what you're gonna do is, as you can see, there's a little rib section over here, and then another one at the top, and then there's a hook right here, and there's a hook at the bottom. So when you press on the rib and the rib, you can see that the little hook section flexes out ever so slightly. So that's difference number one. For difference number two, I need to put the car down. All right, on the other side, you're gonna have this little skinny line. You're going to press on the top and press on the bottom. And then you'll be able to slide this out just like that. The end of this is going to be on the airbox, and you need to pull it off, and then you take the end and you literally just slip it onto this nub right there, and that's really the only other difference that you have to worry about on the passenger side. Otherwise, everything else is exactly the same. Now we're gonna end the video here so I can do that side off camera. When it comes to reassembling, if you wanna check that video again where we show you how to take everything apart, in that video we actually review all of the torque specs for when you're reassembling it. Now if you're interested to see this intake and other cool 911 parts in action, be sure to check our other channel, Keys Motorsports, where we go through these bigger builds. We have dyno videos and so much more, so be sure to check that out. We have links for you down in the description below, where you'll also find links to cool products like this APR carbon fiber intake. Once again, my name is Brian. Thanks for watching Keys. If you like our videos, give us a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe and check us out at keys.com, KIES.com. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.